I've played a lot of games throughout my life. I've gone from NES to PlayStation to owning a full-blown gaming PC and played hundreds if not thousands of games, with some being good and some being so absolutely atrocious that I've purged them from my mind. I've played, loved, and hated every genre under the sun. From shooters to puzzle games to roguelikes to sandboxes to hack and slashes to souls-likes to RTSs to MMOs to party games to... You get the idea. But there's not one genre, not one game, not one moment in my thousands, if not tens of thousands of hours of playing, in which I've experienced a game so wild, so unbelievably chaotic and nonsensical, and downright absolutely amazing, as Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
I finally found what I was looking for. A place where I can be without remorse. Because I am a stranger who has found an even stranger war. I finally found what I was looking for.
Metal Gear Rising was released in 2013 as Platinum Games' only contribution to the Metal Gear series. And yes, that's the same Platinum Games that brought you both the Bayonetta games and various other fairly unheard of titles, such as, Nier Automata! The game was initially meant to be developed by Kojima Productions, who had already developed pretty much every Metal Gear, including the prequel to Rising, Guns of the Patriots. But due to deadlines and a lack of direction, the game was almost cancelled until Hideo Kojima himself reached out to Platinum Games in a last-ditch effort to get help. And even after Kojima handed development over to Platinum, he was still concerned about whether or not Platinum would be able to complete it in time. After much reassurance from Platinum's president Tatsuya Minami, Kojima officially conceded control over pretty much everything but the cutscenes. Platinum, having been given full authority over what the game would play like, completely scrapped the initial game and remade it into their own style, which gives the game a massively different playstyle when compared to the rest of the Metal Gear series. This Russian production didn't come entirely without drawbacks, though. When you compare it to many of the other Metal Gear games, Rising just feels significantly shorter, with the whole game being roughly half the length of Metal Gear 3 and just over a third of the length of 4. Several aspects of the game can feel extremely clunky, like how the camera sometimes refuses to lock onto enemies, or how the camera sometimes won't turn the way you want it to, or how the camera sometimes gets stuck in a wall while you're fighting an enemy and you die, or how... Okay, I guess it's mostly just the camera. Fans also weren't incredibly receptive of a raid-and-led game after the bait-and-switch Kojima pulled in Metal Gear 2. The story can feel nonsensical at times, it's by far the wildest Metal Gear game, and most of the characters boil down to a singular motivation. But honestly, the game manages to hook me in a way that almost no game has ever done before.
The first good thing I have to talk about is the music. Everything about it is absolutely amazing. So amazing, in fact, that when I went to go download them so I could use them as background music for this video, I kept losing focus and just listening to the whole soundtrack on repeat. I could go on and on about how the lyrics of almost every single boss theme perfectly encapsulates the boss's motivations when it comes to their actions in the story. And this is my video, so I think I will. Mistral's song is about how this is the first place she's ever felt needed and how she can't imagine a place where she'd be accepted as she is now. Blade Wolf's theme is about how he wants to be free of these chains and how his programming is the only thing that forces him into this fight. Monsoon believes that humans are objectively corrupt, and that there's no redemption for anyone in anything but death. Sundowner thinks that cruelty is in our nature, and that we should just embrace it instead of fighting it. Jetstream Sam doesn't know what he fights for anymore, and believes the only way to decide what's right is through fighting, having lost to Armstrong himself, and forced to serve under him prior to the events of the game. Even Armstrong shows his own thoughts and beliefs through the theme that plays during the Excelsis fight. It touches on how greed and indifference have corrupted politics and society as a whole, and that he believes the best way to fix it is to burn it all to ash and start anew, to make America great again. There's only two boss themes that break this mold, and that's Rules of Nature and It Has to Be This Way, which are the first and last boss songs respectively. The former, played during the first boss fight of the game against Metal Gear Ray, talks about how Raiden has to follow the laws of the wild as he fights what basically amounts to a giant steel animal with nothing controlling it but instinct. The latter song plays during the final phase of the final fight, and has to do with something that I'll touch on shortly. But before that, I'm going to gush some more about the music, and oh my goodness, I haven't talked about the intentional cinematic wrap-ins yet, have I? One of the most incredible things about Rising is how well it implements its music into the game itself. I'm just going to play you a section of the first fight here, and I want you to listen and see if you notice something here. Did you catch that? Rising does something fascinating that I've never seen, or I guess heard, a game do before. And that's seamlessly integrating the music to the point where the game basically becomes an interactive AMV. Like seriously, how cool is that scene? And that's not some gameplay trailer or even like an S-rank player doing that. That's just me playing the game. And I'm nowhere near perfect at this game, so the fact that they've managed to integrate it into my gameplay flawlessly, despite the fact that QuickTime events can vary from person to person, is just unbelievably cool to me. Speaking of unbelievably cool, you literally flip a Metal Gear in the very first mission. And on that point, how often are you fighting a Metal Gear as your very first boss and winning? Every other Metal Gear game I can think of, the gear itself is either the final boss or you were meant to run from it when you first meet it. But this game? Now, we're gonna throw a buff man who injected nanomachines into himself so he can harden in response to trauma like a freaking Metapod at you as the final boss. This game pretty much takes everything that makes Metal Gear a franchise and flips it on its head, barely taking itself seriously for even a second. Like, right down to the gameplay, it's completely different and wilder and more nonsensical than anything else in this series, and honestly more nonsensical than most games I play. I think that's what really gets me with this game. There's a certain hidden depth to it that kind of sneaks up on you. I think something you might have realized when I was talking about how each character has their own motives is that none of them are really wrong. Obviously they're doing terrible things and their actions are objectively wrong, but I don't know that there's many of us who can really say we don't think politics are corrupt. I don't know that there's many of us who can say they've always felt accepted, or that they've never thought that people were awful. Or that they haven't felt chained, or apathetic, or lost. I guess it reminds me of another piece of art I love, that I'll have to make a video about one day. And that's where Raiden's final song and its highly fitting title, It Has to Be This Way, comes in. After all the killing, after everything Armstrong's put him through, and all the terrible things he's done, Raiden still realizes that he's human. He realizes that a different path could have taken him down the same road, and that he agrees with Armstrong's wishes even if he doesn't agree with his methods. They both want a country they can be proud of, that they can call their home. And as he realizes this, he also realizes that in the same way he can't back down now, neither can Armstrong. He realizes that if he's going to continue to stand up for and protect those who can't protect themselves, then this is the way things have to be. And that there's no going back now, no matter how much the both of them might want to. This is the path that they chose. Things have been hard lately. For everyone, pretty much. I won't say what's going on right now, because if you're listening when I put this out, you already know what's going on. And if you're listening somewhere down the line, I'm sure there's some other massive issue weighing on your mind, whether it's personal or global. And honestly, sometimes I think we just need a silly little game that doesn't take itself too seriously to just sit back, relax, and give ourselves a break from it all. We're not making the mother of all omelets here. Just take some time to crack a few eggs.